Committee's previously looked at skills shortages in the Royal Navy, and I just wondered, Vice Admiral, if you could say a bit more about how confident you are about the arrangements being put in place around nuclear skills shortages.
So I think for the Royal Navy, it's an improving position. So the report, as it stands, I think is accurate. But the reason why I would describe it as improving is probably because of four factors. So if we look at inflow, then the inflow, whether it's the things that we've done, such as starting to recruit have a submarine recruitment team, the initiatives of an undergraduate apprenticeship scheme and an accelerated apprenticeship scheme, all of those are demonstrating that we now have more people in the training pipeline. So last year we had, in net terms, 100 extra engineering technicians. So that's significant, and we're predicting that we're going to have a similar number this year. The second piece is the through flow. So we have massively improved the through flow of our people, particularly in the engineering branches. So that's a mixture of bringing people in at and recognising their technical qualifications and leveraging off that to push them through the system faster, and also just revisiting everything that we do to see whether or not we can push people through more quickly. And some of those changes are dramatic. So for a petty officer under the old regime, it may have taken as long as 12 years to be fully qualified. Now you can do that in 5 years. So that's a substantial improvement. And then the third point would be outflow. Our outflow has reduced substantially. So in the submarine service, compared to everywhere else in the Navy, we now have the best outflow. So
you mean the smallest outflow?
The smallest outflow. So that is less than 2% for officers and less than 4% for other ranks. That means, again, in data terms, we are seeing an improvement underneath the surface of the current situation, and we're predicting that it's going to be better in the next 2 to 3 years.
What have you done differently that makes the mariners want to stay, where other bits of the armed forces, the people are leaving?
Well, I would pay credit to the submarine community and the way that they've gripped this. So some of this is the creation several years ago of a dedicated 2-star, so an Assistant Chief of Naval Submarines, John Wheel, who spends a lot of his time up in Scotland, and we have invested in that community.
So Faslane, basically.
Faslane. If we looked at the plan to move the submarine service essentially to Scotland 5 years ago, I think we would have described a lot of caution and wariness. We would have been, we're now at about 84% of all our submariners are centring around Faslane and the Clyde, and we're gaining momentum. We also have invested, so the large investment in infrastructure and people seeing the improved accommodation, again, is starting to generate a confidence in their branch of the service. And I think that's all that we're starting to see. So we've done some mechanical things. We've done some adjustments to open the service so people can come in more quickly. We are pushing them through far more quickly. And if we look at how that's being reflected back to us in the Armed Forces Continuous Attitude Survey, then the submarine community has improved in terms of its positive response by about 10 or 11%. So the question, am I proud to serve in the Royal Navy, is at 60%, and that's an increase of about 11%. The question, would I recommend others joining the Royal Navy, and I think by implication becoming a submariner, that is almost 50% of people saying that, and that's another increase of 10%. So I think those things are coming together.
And that all sounds very positive, but of course the targets still aren't being met. So what else do you think can be done?
So our targets are starting to be met in the submarine service. So you're right, as a whole in terms of the Royal Navy, we need to get more people in, and I think we need to do a lot more to satisfy that. In terms of the submarine service and are we seeing us getting back to what I call normal? So at the moment, I wouldn't want to gloss over that this is a stressful situation and we need to improve. But the things I'm describing, inflow, throughflow, outflow, are also accompanied by structural changes. So we now have far more people in the submarine service agreeing to stay longer than their 20-year point or their pension point. So we have about 40 to 50% of all our senior rates have accepted extensions of service or have accepted contracts to serve longer than their pension point. Now that is, again, is hugely significant. So I'm saying this is a series of lots of different initiatives and some phenomenally strong leadership and a community coming together, starting to buy into our investment, and then it's all of these starting to have an impact. But the impact isn't instant. The impact is going to be more significant over the next 2 to 3 years.
Vice Admiral, you use the word community quite a lot. Is it that there's a particular camaraderie among people, among the submariners, that makes them want to stay once you've done that bit of push and support from the centre?
Yes. So I think we're not at this sort of virtual circle whereby people everybody wants to stay as long as they can, and they say, "Hurrah! We all want to be up in Scotland, and this is the best place to go," and so on. But what we're combating is a sense a few years ago where there was a disgruntlement and there was a sense of frustration. And when people have gap billets and then others that are remaining come under more pressure, then that just fuels it, and so on. So to me, the community aspect and how we respond as a Navy to the Submariner branch is significant. And then I think that's also backed up in the operational space. We have that community. We've always said that they're the most important in terms of UK defence and our obligations to the government and the nation. But if you also look at the operational space, which we can't talk about too much in this forum, but the fact that so much is going on, again, helps to breed that sense of purpose and worth. And that's something, again, that we want to invest in.